Can you hear me?
The lines, I am not sure what exactly it is, but we will sort it out. We will be back after this. Don't go away, please.
Hello, Professor Noah. Hello, Professor Noah. Can you hear me?
It's online.
Professor Noah, can you hear me?
This is Ipob Community Radio. Radio Biafra. The first and the last.
The history of a people, I repeat, is like the stream of life from which the character, form, and structure of the identity, their backwardness and progress are drawn. It affords the people the platform on which to predict their future. Though, just as every stream has a source, so every group of people has a beginning.
I had a voice on the radio Biafra. London is the mouthpiece of the Biafrans. Nnamdi Kanu is his name. He made a vow to fight the end till our nation Biafra is restored. We love him, he's our mentor. Biafra is for real. Yeah. We will keep on fighting till the end.
Anything you hear on radio Biafra is the gospel truth.
I had a voice right in the air, sounding like a thunder, calling for my freedom. Yeah, now I come. I had a voice right in the air, telling me to listen. Biafra freedom is play. It's telling me Biafra is my name. Biafra is my home. Biafra is my home. It's telling me Biafra is my name. Biafra is my name. Biafra is my home.
All right, welcome back. I do apologize, of course, for the technical issues that we had. And, of course, let us go back to the lines and see maybe the lines will work. These things do happen because we're dealing with electrical issues, and now and then we do get issues. I have a caller on WhatsApp. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Caller on WhatsApp.
Good morning, Professor No.
Good morning from here, my brother. Good morning. Your names, please, and where you calling from?
I can hear you.
Yes, go ahead. Your names and where you're calling from.
You're speaking to the scavenger. My name is Obuze Enwindo, the scavenger.
All right. Thank you very much. Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Afridi Sud.
All right.
Afridi Sud is South Africa.
All right. Thank you very much. That will be French. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Professor Noah, what I wanted to, you can see all your panel here, they have agreed that all these presidents were put there in order to protect their mining interests, those the Westerners, and their gold. They want to protect their oil. As long as the oil and everything is flowing, there is no problem. But what I wanted to ask your panel is that now, we, the Biafrans, we are no longer interested in too much English, too much speaking English, too much grammar. What we want from this panel now is for them, each one of them, to adopt one Biafran. If they go to the street of Pretoria, street of Hebrew, street of everywhere, all these people you see scavenging there are the Biafrans. Are the Oduduwas. You can never see a Fulani man there because they are comfortable in that Nigeria. So what we want from them now is to equip us, to adopt at least one of us so that we can go back and fight. Because we cannot go there just only to fight. Because even here in South Africa where we are, it's not easy for us. For instance, as long as you are a Biafran or a Nigeria, you are in South Africa. I'm talking to our comrade there who is an ANC member. And the ANC must remember that the only people who embrace ANC when they were fighting for apartheid are the Biafrans. In fact, it's a Biafran who hosted Dr. Mandela, who hosted him in somewhere in Biafra land, who have held him for some times, and even Tabon.
All right.
All of them were.
I think we've got your question.
So we wanted them now to help us, to
Mazi,
us.
Thank you very much. We've got your question.
Please, that is what we want from them.
All
we
right.
wanted to go. Let them equip us, let them help us. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much. I think we'll try and see if we can take one more call, and then of course I will give to the panels, and then we will continue. Next caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Call on the line. Yes, good morning from here, please. Your names and where you calling from?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Your names and where you calling from?
Yes, good morning, Mazi Nwachineke.
Good morning.
And also your presenters or your interviewer this morning. My name is Mazi Nwachineke Wisdom. I'm calling from my location. I'm from Ohajima. Ohajima is in Imo province, Biafra land. I want to ask your interviewers, the members of AMC, what are their stand on the extraordinary rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to the zoo? Because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the first place is not a Nigeria. He has denounced his citizen being a citizen of Nigeria, and he is a citizen of Britain. As Britain are not doing anything, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a Biafra in Africa, and he is extraordinary rendition to Nigeria. And the people that are supposed to speak on his behalf are the Britain. I'm not speaking on his behalf. What are their fans?
Right.
As a member of MS, and they have fought for freedom and know what is in freedom. We know that Europeans, they cannot help us.
Thank you very much. I think we've got your question, Mazi.
That's your question.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Thank
you. All right, I will start with you, and then I will go to you, because if this issue now concerns human rights issue, and I would like you to treat it as well. But since he has directed it to you, our leader was abducted in Kenya. From there was this business they did. They brought him back to Nigeria, and they want him to stand trial in Nigeria. And that's what we call extraordinary rendition, when you abduct people, without extradition. We know about Bushiri issue. They didn't just go to Malawi and drag him back to South Africa. They're still waiting for the courts to rule before Bushiri can come to South Africa and stand trial. So how come Nigeria were able to break all human rights protocols, all international treaties, and go and abduct somebody from another country, and now they want the person to stand trial in a court that has no jurisdiction over that person? Please, what's your take on that?
My take personally, and I'll repeat again, I don't want to speak for the ANC, but I know we respect the rule of law. We're signatory to so many treaties of international law. It would never have happened in South Africa, such a thing, and I think Nigeria knows that. I'll give you a case. There were policemen who renditioned people from here to Zimbabwe, and those people got killed in Zimbabwe. Those policemen stood trial in South Africa, and those policemen were fired, and they are serving a sentence. So even our own law is against that. Even our own police were put to trial for renditioning somebody out of this country into Zimbabwe, and those people were killed. And of course, that's illegal. That's a kidnapping. What happened to Nigeria and who was kidnapped in Kenya, I have no idea how that happened, that the Kenyan government even allowed that.
In South Africa, everything goes.
No, but not in South Africa.
Exception of South Africa, because
you in South Africa you enjoy freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
The same rights when you enter this country, whether you're an illegal foreigner, illegal immigrant, or you enter with a passport. Immediately you enter the borders of this country, the same rights which I enjoy as a South African, you enjoy. That is guaranteed.
Human rights.
It's guaranteed in our constitution. It is guaranteed. All South Africa belongs to all those who live in it. It's the first clause of our Freedom Charter. So it's guaranteed in our constitution that you enjoy the same rights as I do. That's the thing. So there's no way such a thing would have happened. There's another comrade who asked again from Italy. He was saying if the AU and the United Nations, I didn't say the AU and the United Nations can't work. Even the AU has got a committee which deals with rights of indigenous people. In our case in South Africa, we used every strategy to get our point heard. Use every platform, use every organization. We used even the United Nations until we got a resolution taken by the United Nations. There are many other. Okay, let's go to Sudan. Sudan, for instance, now has got 2 Sudans. But those people are fighting they fought until they got their freedom. So me, I'm saying to him, use every platform, every organization, whether it's Amnesty International, use everybody in this world to get your case heard. Don't say this one is not working. No, you'd never know. In politics, 24 hours is quite a lot of time.
All right, thank you very much. Let me come to you, sir. Would you call what happened to our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu a crime against humanity, extraordinary rendition? What's your take on that?
I think, like I said earlier on, that look, we had a case of Omar al-Bashir in 2017 when he was supposed to be arrested here in South Africa, because of the ICC, request. He was not. In fact, the government of South Africa, assisted him to escape. So you can see that the law is not being applied uniformly. This is not the law of general application. This law protects certain individuals that are high up there and people that are not seen to be high up there that want to protect their own rights. Why do you arrest, somebody who is not with grenades and bombs or doing anything else, somebody who's trying to get people to talk, who says this is what we are talking about? So what we have now is a situation which we call oppression and suppression of dissent. So you will be abducted anywhere as long as you're an ordinary person who's fighting a wrong system. They will come down wherever you are hiding and take you and charge you with all these spurious charges that are being brought against you. So in terms of the freedom of expression, his freedom as a person, the fact that he must be tried in terms of the international law that if he must be extradited, he must be. You're talking about somebody who has denounced the citizenship of Nigeria, who doesn't want to be there, who is therefore,
and he's also a citizen of Britain.
Exactly. So now, in terms of that, the reason why he left Nigeria means he should be protected by international refugee law to start with, because he has now said, I don't want to avail myself to this country because what is happening here is infringing on my rights. But the world is not saying anything today. And yet that person now is being brought into a hostile country where his rights are not protected. And then you ask me that can AU therefore assist and help the people, of Africa in protecting their rights? That's why I'm saying it is impossible. And I am actually, on record, and I'm actually going on record to say, to start with, the biggest challenge that we have, and when we look at the international, the legal aspects of this particular issue, is that from now on, the independent people or the indigenous people of Biafra must then be looking at a situation where we're saying, we need to litigate. Every tribunal that is on earth must then be approached and served with the papers to say, wait a minute, we want self-determination in terms of the ICCPR, Article 1, which gives us the right of self-determination. And because this is what we are saying, we want to be heard. And this must be done at UN level. Petitions must be sent to even to the AUSEs, it must be petitioned. You must petition the United Nations. And this is what is supposed to be the course of action from now onwards, because I liked, the other speaker says, look, it's not time for the English and could not work. But it is in fact that time now, because we need to put to test these laws. We need to expose it. You see, when Comrade Stone was speaking about mobilization, the only part that I completely agree with him is that the kind of media publicity that is required now is that we know that if you want to go into Biafra now and start even talking to people, you cannot freely do that.
Yes.
Because you will be arrested. Your movement, you cannot even talk to people.
If you come back alive, then of course you must go to Thanksgiving.
There you go. So now what needs to happen at this particular stage? This is a very serious problem because it affects the humanity of an African person. Africans cannot self-determine. And now what needs to happen is, the Biafrans must be the first to allow and set the African continent free. That is why we stand with the people of Biafra now. Because our freedom is premised and based on the success of this particular story. And this story and this rhetoric and this narrative cannot be fought over another 10, 15, 20 years until we die and leave it as is. When we were colonized, the ancestors, our forefathers went out to fight, they had guns. Now we need to come up with a different strategy fighting this war. Because African leaders are going to protect their own brotherhood. This is a brotherhood, it's a carrot. They will protect each other. So we need to show that we are wise enough to unearth and expose and destroy this demon called African leaders and the AU, which is used to oppress us. They meet every year, budgets, they rotate the leadership. You've got the African Parliament. I wonder what these people sit down and really are talking about except for fighting for positions. You can see this is what is at stake. The freedom of people, the ability of people to survive on their own is not an issue. But we want to talk about the law of general application, the law that applies to a president and to an ordinary person. If as a person you say, but I do not agree, this is not what I want, and it is my right to dissent, why can I not be allowed to dissent? Why are you not allowed to say, I do not, international law says you have a right to leave your country and to come back. Now, you are not leaving the country. If you come here into South Africa, if you tell me how many Biafrans today have been given asylum in South Africa, I mean, zip. Because they say, but what war? In order for you to get, to get asylum in South Africa, you must be a person who says, look, I'm running away from Boko Haram. But there is a more pertinent issue. Yes. And this is the issue of a people that says, I don't want to be a people associated with Nigeria because I am an independent person. And because I say that, then I'm ejected from my country, I'm killed. But then the country says, that ratifies the United Nations, Convention on Refugees. The 1951 Convention says, yeah, but wait a minute, that is not a crisis. We don't recognize that. And this is what is happening the world over. And we all sit down and smile and say, yeah, but look, the world is doing all right. We're all doing fine. Now, listen, we're going to change this narrative. We're going to change this story. And the only way we need to do that is to make sure that from now onwards, the people of Biafra become Project Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right, I have two callers holding on. I'm going to take their call, and then, of course, I believe my comrades here might want to ask one or, a few questions, because I know where they're sitting and they're burning. There was something they want to add. It's just unfortunate our microphone here is limited, but we'll make sure we find a way to, get them speaking. I can't have such heavyweights here, and then they are moods. They don't talk. And I must tell you, this man sitting behind you, I started hearing this word of imperialism, those terms from him. At the time, we even get fed up. We said, every time the man this. But at the time, I begin to realize he's talking sense. He's talking deep,
Can I explain something?
Please go ahead, yes.
From colonization, we went to neocolonization.
That's the word I'm looking for.
From neocolonization, we're living in an imperialism now. The same colonizers have imperialized us. That's why I said to you, even the language we are speaking is not our own. Even the mind, the thought, he mentioned it. From Roman Dutch law, you're learning things which are not our own. That is imperialism, because they are operating now by remote control. And they are using our own people to colonize us again. You understand what I'm saying? It's not now that you see a European or not. No, you see your own people oppressing you and colonizing you. That's what it's happening. That's
imperialism. And that's why our own law becomes immoral laws, yes. And their own law becomes they abolished this Zulu laws and what have you.
Traditional laws.
And brought all this, now we're talking about common, this African law to be introduced. Why should it be introduced? It's supposed to be organic. It's supposed to be there already, because you are in Africa.
It was destroyed.
Unbelievable. All right, we must continue. Let me go to WhatsApp. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Thank you for holding your names, please, and where you are calling from. Caller on WhatsApp.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning from here, Mazi. Your name?
Professor Mazi Nwachineke.
Thank you very much.
My name is Nnamdi Kanu from Asian Kingdom of Agudere. Currently calling from Podnova, Benin Republic. Let me go straight to the question of debate this morning, and my questions to the panel is this. We all know that Biafra stands for Africa. Africa, I mean the black race, I'm sorry using the word blacks, I mean the Aboriginal people. And truly, every preaching of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is centered on the liberation of Africa. And I know that nobody is free in Africa, including South Africa. And every struggle now is centered, that Biafra is into, is centered on the total liberation of the black man from the Western neocolonialist tendency. Are you guys in or out? That is the question I want to ask, because and all this grammar is a Western, is an English word, grammar. But I want to know: are you people in? Are you with us to free Africa?
Are you still there? Are you still there? All right.
I ask this question is because no African country is independent, and Biafra is agitating to be totally independent from. That is where we start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got that. Let's go to the other line. Get that question, and then I will get our panel here to answer. Then, of course, I will turn to my comrade here in the studio. Caller on the other line, can you hear me?
Yes, you're talking to me, Mazi.
Yes, I'm talking to you. Good morning from here, Mazi. And please, your names and where you're calling from.
My name is the Wise Pastor, Chris Wise.
Wow.
Calling from
what a wise
the
pastor.
kingdom. Yes. I am the wisest pastor.
Which kingdom are you calling again? You say a kingdom. There are so many kingdoms. Which one?
Kingdom of Gold, that is Cambodia.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead with your question. Our panelists are listening.
Yes. You are always on point, always doing a great job for Biafra, because in this very era of dispensations where we are now, we need something like this, more of it from people which we believe could be a remedy, because what I'm seeing, that is my own opinion, what I'm seeing now is that the whole leadership are corrupted. They are a kind of contaminated, and in short, none of them are good for common man. Number one is, they say that slavery has stopped, and they create a visa and an embassy where you yourself will go and obtain visa to travel and enslave yourself again. I'm using this as in a result of a kind of what you said some time ago, how you went to Israel to stand 10 to 12 hours every day to watch plays.
Do you really have to tell people that I was watching plays in Israel? Please go ahead.
So, my brother, I'm just using this as a phrase.
No, I know.
You know?
Only you will say that because you know me better. Go ahead, please.
Yes, but that is the truth. Now, I want to ask you, and I want to bring it down to a layman understanding. You travel by yourself and yourself alone with your own money, hoping to get to a greener pasture in order to broaden your life, to help the situations on ground in your family. Now you went there to stand, take your standing ovation for 10 hours every blessed day, without minding that such could cause opomeli. You can interpret it to those people that are sitting with you. You know what is opomeli?
Yes, go ahead.
So now, and you are in a better position to explain what you went through. A place that you can stand without sitting down. When you sit down, they begin to shout on you as if that they are your God. Now, such people I'm going to somewhere because I will ask a question.
Yes,
Such
please,
people that they
try
are
to make it snappy for us because of time. Go ahead.
Very, very snappy. Such people that you are working for, that are seeing you as less human. And these people saw themselves as a supreme being. And they are in all kind of organizations. They created United Nations. They created African Union. They created every union, trying to tell you that you have a limited movement. You have a limited plan or a limited kind of ideology. That these are the limits or places that you can stop. That you cannot cross. That this place belongs to us. Now, back to where I'm trying to drive so that you can understand me now, is that our leader was renditioned from Kenya. And you will understand that our leader said some time ago that when you mention Biafra in United Nations, where we hope, where every common man lies, that this United Nations is a place that a common man could a kind of lay his voice, and his voice will be a kind of treated. That when you mention Biafra in that very place, all of them will close their meeting and run away. That's number one. Then now, they want to unleash, they want to kind of commit crime. Do you know what they did? They used the head. Because there is no any other state in Africa that you could report this very matter of rendition that will be able to listen to you. Because the only person that will rule the accusation is Kenya president himself. And if Kenya president is involved in the rendition, how do you think that this rendition matter will make headway? And being that our leader is a British citizen, and Britons are not saying anything, do you think that that thing is in line with a common man vision or plan? That someday, somehow, the Britain will rise up and speak against their plan, and or Kenya will rise up to give an instruction of the rendition in the African Union for them to tackle Nigeria. Do you see the game right now? They use the head, and Britain is one of the world power, because after Britain you come to America, after America Germany, after Germany is France, and China is coming up right now, and Nigeria went to borrow from China to make them friends, even if for some other five other world powers kind of frustrate them.
Thank you very much. I know you're a pastor. If we allow you, you will take the whole time. Remain the one you will preach on Sunday. Thank you very much. I think you got your question.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. And of course, I don't know if you that we had two people who called, the first one and the second one. If you got their question, maybe you want to say something based on what he is saying. I don't know.
The first one again was talking about adopting. That is time for it's time, and are we with them or with? I think the question is rhetoric.
Exactly. Yeah. So
me being here just says that I believe the Biafran struggle is a just struggle. Personally, I believe it's a just struggle. There is no you're talking about the rabbit.
I mean, if you are not with us, you wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here.
So.
A rabbit in a cage cannot be caged forever. You know, the spirit. It's been caged.
You see, that explains what I told you about my rabbit at home.
Yeah. That spirit of the ancestors who died in 1967 till 1970 is coming up to this youth again, and you guys have taken it up. So I think they are operating within that, and he's making a huge mistake if he says it's time for talk. Is not there. The whole world is listening. The arrest of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on the second question, that how could you allow that to happen? The funny thing is that the arrest of our political leaders in the 1960s and throughout our struggle raised the international platform. They made them matters for us, because I remember at the age of 13, I was saying, release Mandela, release Mandela. It was at that stage, for me, I didn't even know what Mandela was representing, but I knew that he was representing freedom. So I think it was a huge mistake on the Nigerian government to even rendition Nnamdi Kanu, because now the whole international attention is focused on release that man. You kidnapped him from another country, and it bodes well.
Absolutely.
It bodes well for your struggle. So on those 2 points, and the work of the African Union is not, the African Union, he's right, okay, fine, it serves the elite. But there are, which I know some personally, within the organs of the African Union, within the committees, there are some people with their mouths shut who know about the struggle of the indigenous people all over Africa, who are still saying, but I don't know how to talk within those platforms. Some of them are students of politics, they've done masters. Some of them do represent governments, but they do not want to talk or to say, now I'm working for government, but he is in a committee. I know this one committee, he is in a committee of the African Union on conflict resolution in Africa. He knows these stories. These issues are being raised each and every day on those platforms. It's for you as an organized force, I'll repeat again, for you to make them headlines. It's for you to put your structures together internationally, all over in South Africa, wherever you are based. Once you've got your structures together, that's how you expand. You make these things headlines. You make the whole world look at what is happening.
Sorry to interrupt you. While you're on the issue of structure, because some people don't understand what structure is all about. It's about command and control.
Yes.
When you look at EFF, they call their leader command-in-chief. People don't understand why. It's not because they're trying to define him. It means they take command from
the top.
From the top. Can you please elaborate?
Let me.
The importance of structure and taking instruction, because you're telling us now, organize yourself. How can we do that if there is no command in place?
You've got a political constitution. You've got a code of conduct which all of IPOB members are supposed to work towards. In any political organization, there is protocols to be followed. There's a structure which needs to be followed. We are all servants of the people in any political organization. A leader who's placed on top should not be aloof, but he should know that he's the best servant. He works the hardest, more than anybody else. And unfortunately, you're involved in a struggle of life and death. So you put your life on the line. Anybody who's I was once in your position where I knew I couldn't sleep at home because I was going to be killed. I knew I couldn't. My parents didn't even know where I was. But I preferred it that way because I would be killed. So within your structures, you've got to put your structures into order. From the chairperson, treasury, secretary, media person, political education officer, diplomacy, the one who interacts with all the... You are a political organization, you are above ground, you are not underground. Even in Nigeria, in the zoo, you are above ground. They know IPOB, you are above ground, you are not underground. I don't know, you are banned, but in all other countries of the world, you are above ground. So you operate from that platform, but all your structures have to be in order. From the top to the bottom have to be in order. Then the rest of the masses will gain.
Thank you very much. Then, before I just drop it here, I want to say something. Can you please tell the world, probably the Nigerian government, that when the youth says enough is enough, they will never stop.
Guaranteed.
They don't understand. They thought maybe if you kill 100 youths, 1,000, then the remaining ones will now be scared. But they don't understand. Because when I watch South African uprising, I see these guys being killed and they keep on moving. Can you explain to me? Let me explain to you. They don't understand.
I knew from a personal level to say this can't go on. And our elders were saying half a loaf of bread is better than than none at all. I said that half of loaf of bread is poison. Our motto was to say freedom in our lifetime. Freedom in our lifetime means I was ready to die. Yes. From the age of 16, I put myself up and ready to say, this is me. I'd better just die. And rather than living this thing again, I'd rather be dead. I cannot live under this oppression. I'd rather be dead. Others chose to go outside in. I didn't. I stayed in here. And through our underground movement was able to fight the struggle, powerfully, because the masses who fought the struggle, the majority were inside the country, not those in exile, and not those, but the majority had those in exile came back, they gave us the guns, we started fighting, and all that. They gave us the political education to say the whole world is behind us. Because inside this country, we couldn't get, he's right, you can't get information because there's this blockade. There's blockade. But today we have social media. Right now there are people in Biafra land listening to me. We have social media, so that is the type of mass mobilization. But once you've got that, you've got the ears and the ears and the hearts of the people, you are unstoppable. And it is true. Once the youth stands up, a young person has got no ties to family, to children, and what, he's ready to die.
They don't understand.
He's ready to die.
Thank you very much. Hold that thought. I've got my comrade here. Of course, he will introduce himself. He's got a question that he needs to pose to you. And I do apologize because I know you are a very busy man, but trust me, it's difficult to get hold of you guys. But we got you today. So I'm just kidding. We will be done in a couple of minutes here. Mazi, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you so much, Mazi. My name is Mazi Nwachineke. Actually, I have got two questions here that I want to present to the panel. And the first question goes this way. Is the request for referendum not the best means of seeking for independence? Since IPOB and Biafrans, the Biafrans get killed for requesting for referendum, which is the means by which the Nigerian government is using to silence the request for the independence of Biafra. Then the second question goes to our comrade, Mazi Stone, Mr. Stone. Yeah. So actually, as an experienced freedom fighter that you are, during the quest for South African independence from the apartheid regime, which was anchored by ANC, was ANC in any way tagged as a terrorist organization? If yes, how can such a scenario be handled in the case of Biafra and Nigeria, since IPOB and Biafrans has been tagged as terrorists in Nigeria just to silence the movement? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, he is the coordinator here in Johannesburg. He is my boss, so to say. I think the first question comes to you. He's asking, asking for referendum a best way to go for it? Or are we making a mistake, or are we missing something somewhere? Please go ahead.
Well, look, thank you for that question. I actually was hoping to start looking at, the reason why I mentioned the 1957, 1967 to 1970, Biafra is because if you look at the 1946, when we had the United Nations coming in 1946 and 1947 after the World War II, what basically happened from that particular moment is that it was declared, and it was a resolution that there is no country or there is no one who can now occupy any other land via means of, occupation or by war. Now, that is an important aspect that I'm hoping that, the people of Biafra are going to look at very importantly, because you must remember that in 1967, Biafra was independent and was then fought. So what basically happened in terms of international law is that was occupation, because it had independence, and then it was fought and occupied. Today we talk about Israel and Palestine, and the issue that is in question is the occupation of in Palestine by Israel, or the spread. And you look at the Yom Kippur Wars, of 1967, 1973, and so forth, and there are still questions today, and the whole world is in support of the independence of Palestine. And the very same concept is the concept that we have here with the Biafran people, because they had the independence in 1967, post-1946, when the law had declared that there is no country that can now occupy another country by means of war, which is why Israel was forced to withdraw from the territories that it occupied during the Golan Heights War, when it massacred, the Egyptian plains and all that. This is the same principle that we're looking at, which is why I'm saying the referendum, the legal route that we're talking about, it is the best weapon to use today, because it is not easy to coordinate a war. And it's not something that can easily be done. But what needs to happen now, to the Biafrans, that's why I say the war, the struggle of the Biafrans is an African struggle. Remember, we've got South Cameroon, the Amazonia. Now, remember, we've got so many people that are unhappy about what is happening in their countries because
Congolese.
the level of democrats that we have, the Congolese people, Eastern Democratic Congo, over how many million people did not vote because of Ebola? Yet you're in a country where you say there is governance. So the referendum is just not only a tool, but it is a lawful means of requesting, and you cannot deny. In countries that are developed like, the UK, 100,000 signatures for a petition is already something that is going to be taken to the House of Commons. Now, we've got all this talk that has been going on, and what is so difficult in saying, let us have the referendum? We don't want a referendum that you're going to say, let's have a referendum, in Biafra, and then Nigeria is the one that is going to administer and run everything and stop people from doing this thing. So that at the end of the day, it's a shame kind of a referendum. Then say, look, they lost. Because they're going to intimidate people, start beating people and force them not to vote, for the referendum. Because we know their modus operandi. This is Africa. It's not like we fell. We were born here in Africa. We know how Africa operates. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to change this rhetoric and show that Africa is aware. The Arab Springs, they are actually one of those issues that show how Africa has been treated and how the people of Africa have had enough. So we should not just say we have had enough, but we must then implement these strategies in a more effective way. We must clamor for the rights that the Palestinian people are being accorded today. The United Nations is ever sitting because of the question of Israel and Palestine. But why is the question of Biafra not anywhere, on the big map to be such a discussion? In fact, you've got the leader taken and arrested, and the world is almost mum as if nothing is happening. So, and when people have not picked any arms of war, but they're saying, let us talk, give us the platform to express ourselves, but you arrest such people, and then we say there is freedom of expression as enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We say there are political and civic rights as enshrined in the International Covenant on Civic and Political Rights. That is a shame. We're an embarrassment to ourselves. So yes, the referendum is the way to go, and indeed, not only should that be, but I am of the view that litigation must start as soon as it's yesterday. Every court international tribunal must be flooded by petitions, by court papers. The government of Nigeria must be summoned, to different tribunals and courts to come and answer why it has arrested, the leader of the Biafran people, and why it is refusing to have the referendum set. And once it's agreed that the referendum must be set, we must not be blind.
Please hold that thought. There is something you said I want to, build on before I forget about litigation.
Yes.
Can we, bring Nigeria before a South African court here, based on, human rights violations? Of course, they have an embassy here. We can always summon their High Commission to come and answer to that effect, because it is an international law. So talk to me about it.
Well, look, it will have to work through regional bodies for only one reason. You have had South Africa now with the Zimbabwe exemption permits that it has said it is a sovereign state and it is allowed. So our African countries are very good at avoiding issues and hiding behind their fingers. They will hide behind sovereignty, that we have a right, to sovereignty as enshrined in the AU Charter, and as a result, we cannot be someone who can deal with these things in our own courts. So this is exactly what I'm saying, that when we talk litigation, one of the things that need to happen now is the clamoring that is taking place, and then the Biafrans can take it to an international tribunal, which has got jurisdiction, because now, if South Africa, even if competently at law, that would obviously come, but the South African government, especially because the people of Biafra are now here in South Africa to say, but look, we are here, we are not catered for example, we don't even have papers, but this is our issue, we want it to be heard. You can have a class action, for example, look at the issue of asylum seeking and say, look, we want all the people of Biafra to get asylum seekers, and then you've got a class case that goes to say, you've got all these people seeking asylum, they must be given asylum, and you are taking that against the South African government. Says South African government has ignored the plight of the people of Biafra, and then you can then cite, as respondents as well, the United Nations, AU, the different, commissioners, and of course the government of Nigeria to say, can they answer on that particular issue that the embassy can? Because that would be a daring and bold step, but it can be done. Though of course we know that they will avoid and say, look, self-sovereignty, cut here. So that is why it will be very important to say, if that step, for example, on asylum seekers is taken to court, it must then be taken to include that, but we will hear, of course, your lack of jurisdiction. But you say we want them to answer because this is the government. We want it to come and answer here so that we can see.
Because Biafrans are here, they live here. So where else do you want them to go to?
To go, yes. And you are not even recognizing the plight that they have. You must then bring, say this is the matter that we have here. And of course, that's where we are saying the issue is going to be lack of, jurisdiction. But once you talk lack of jurisdiction, that's why, the issue of taking it, to the AU. Because you see, you cannot, as it were, take, as we have seen what happens in Africa. The courts in Africa, the judiciary in Africa, is in the majority of the cases not independent of the executive and the government. It is almost one and the same thing. You will realize that, the judiciary is captured, by the state to the extent that if you take a case against the state, in the majority of the cases, you are not likely to win because, the judges that we have, the bulk of them, they owe their allegiance, to the presidents that actually appointed. So they are puppets of these particular presidents. So that's why it really doesn't work very freely. We had, in South Africa, one independent, judge, the Chief Justice was just outgoing, who has shown a lot of independence, but you have seen the outcry.
Yes.
He has spoken freely about Israel.
Absolutely.
He speaks his mind freely, and they were not happy. Yes. And now so you can see what basically happens if you become a free judge. You litigate.
You need to follow the status quo.
Exactly. So all what they want is they want judges that are going to eat from the presidents that appoint them, and that is where the problem is. But frankly speaking, it is my belief that litigation is going to go a long way. If we can have the people of Biafra chaptering, this map, have a 12 months plan, a 24 months plan, and we don't want 24 months. 24 months is too long. I mean, how do you spend a whole lifetime fighting for your independence and then you die still captive, still being, oppressed by your own people? The saddest thing is no one is interested in fighting the domination of blacks by blacks. We were all coming together when it was the domination of blacks by whites. But now that it's black on black violence, we're all looking aside.
Yes, because our leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said that the problem we have as a black people is we always turn the other way.
Yes.
When evil is happening at our own backyard. That has been a problem of an African. Okay, in as much we might say anything about the Western world, there is something about them also. They speak out.
Yes.
Especially when it's happening around them.
Yes.
Now, let's forget about them speaking for us. I mean, come on, we are human. We can fight our own wars.
Indeed.
We can do our own thing. We mustn't be calling them come and fight for us or whatever.
Yes.
Let Africa start from where they
talking
are.
for themselves.
Inferiority complex is killing us.
Let's Benin Republic talk about the evil in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Let Togo talk about the evil in Nigeria. Stop calling Britain. Stop calling America. What about Africans? What are they doing? Zero.
In fact, what they are doing is our African brothers. They are actually being used as an instrument of further oppression, because if an oppressed Biafran is in South Africa, the bulk of the people that are not enlightened to understand these African problems, they'll say, you must go back to fight your war there in Biafra. We fought our own wars here in South Africa. Go and set yourself independent. I mean, it's a warped up view and warped up mentality that people cannot even understand what they're saying. People talk. You see what is happening is African people, they see only as far as their noses. And that is, or their mouth, not noses, their mouth, that is their food. For as long as I'm hungry and I'm scrambling, I'm thinking, he's sitting here
eating my food.
He's eating my food, he's taking my space. But you are not looking at the fact that why is he sitting here? How can I ensure that he sits where he wants to sit? You must ask him first. Do you want to sit where you are sitting?
A woman at one of the I think it's at this camp, you know. I think we had some altercation. Then she went to the cashier. She was so upset. I said to her, why did you allow these people to be ruling you in this country? I'm like, who is these people talking about? They've ruled you for too long. Do you understand African mentality?
Yes.
Or one thing they forgot is that you cannot live in isolation.
Yeah.
That is what you call the League of Nations. That is how people survive. All right, hold that talk because I will also come back to you. I need to find out what is it that you will be doing for IPOB here in South Africa, and also other questions relating to your relationship with the indigenous people of Biafra here in South Africa. Comrade Stone.
I must answer the question
Yes,
on
please
terrorism. You know what is terrorism, comrade? Terrorism is if I threaten you, I injure you, I come to your family, I terrorize your family. I mean, I don't understand why Biafrans are called terrorists. Okay, we were called terrorists as well. Because, but remember who we were terrorizing. We were terrorizing our oppressors. We never went to our own people and terrorized them, killed them. Are you doing that?
No.
So why are you called terrorist? Because you're not terrorizing your people. What? And so this but I love one thing. The United Nations hasn't called you terrorist.
Oh, absolutely.
No, the US, no, the UK, no, any other government has called IPOB terrorist. It's only the Nigerian government which has called you. But who are you terrorizing? You're terrorizing them because you are standing up for yourselves. So for me, we were given the term terrorist because we went, took up arms, came back, we terrorized them. We did. We did terrorize them, and at some instance, we started with terrorizing their army and the police, and then because all their civilians were also involved in terrorizing our people, we reacted to them with defense. Another thing about the right, it's in the United Nations articles. Besides the right of self-determination, you have a right of self-defense. United Nations Article 51. Any nation or community which feels that the government is not serving them has a right to secede from that government, but there's also a right to defend themselves against atrocities developing. It's in the United Nations article. That's why I'm saying some of these things are written in law, but it's only that they must be implemented. You have a right of self-defense. You have a right to stand up and defend your people. That's what we said to ourselves. We said they are using a gun against us. We have a right to defend ourselves.
Yes, self-defense is alienable.
It's an inalienable right. Yeah.
All right, Comrade Stone, before you continue on that, let me take this call, very, very important. Caller on WhatsApp, can you hear me? Caller on the WhatsApp line. Caller, can you hear me?
Yes, Mazi, good morning.
Well, good evening from here. Oh, I keep saying good evening because I'm always on the evening program. All right, good morning from here, Mazi. Please go ahead. Tell us your names and where you're calling from, and then your question.
Mazi, good morning once again. My name is Kajetan.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm calling from South Africa, Northwest Province, Potchefstroom.
Yes, go ahead, Maz. We are listening.
Yes, Maz, my question goes this way to the interview that is conducting this morning. About our situation in Nigeria, what is happening in Nigeria and the rendition that they have been rendition our Nnamdi Kanu. What is African Union saying about it? And what is Africa and the rest of Africans saying? Have they not been saying what is happening in Nigeria? Killings everywhere and other things. We know African Union have to say something. They have to act. But they just inside. They are not saying anything. All this while, or how many years? This Biafran issue started this from 16 to 17. We lost more than 5 million people.
All right, Mazi, I think we get your question. Because of time, I think we've got your question. Thank you very much for that, Mazi.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I think this question has already been answered, with regards to African Union and what they're doing or what they are not doing. Let me take this one more question again. I think it's a caller on Skype. Caller on Skype, can you hear me? Thank you for holding. You've been holding for a while now. Mazi. Mazi Chukwudi on Skype. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, my prof. How are you?
Everybody's calling me prof. Yes, but let's set the record straight. I am a professor of law and history at the University of Radio Biafra. Please go ahead before I get sued. Go ahead, please. Okay. I have some legal mind here, so I need to set the record straight before they start asking questions. Which university? Go ahead, please.
Okay, Malueni,
Molo.
Yeah, Malueni.
See, we stayed here for too long. We need to go home now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for coming around. I'm so happy to have you guys. It will go a long way to help what you are doing. I have a request from me to you guys before I ask my question. My first request is, please don't stop what you're doing. Speak out for the oppressed people in Africa. You were once there. We never shied away from you guys. In 1982, I was part of the people who was paying my PTA in school to help liberate our brothers in Africa, in South Africa at that point. We never shy away. Mandela was there before he left to here, so we never ran away from the responsibility that Elohim has given to us in Africa, a task that we must all work together. I'm asking the youth of South Africa, in ANC, in EFF, in DA and the other parties, here, IFP, you guys have been there. You can come and lecture us and tell us, because I hear you guys are well led and well have a wisdom in what we are doing. You've been there before, and we are going through that process that you people went. It's becoming very ugly if you watch what is happening in the internet, how our people are being killed and massacred just because they ask for freedom. So please, guys, let it not be the last time we are going to hear you guys coming on the radio. We want EFF to come and other parties to come and lecture us on what we need to do. I like when you talk about the structure of IPOB. We do have a very strong structure, and we do have people also who has decided to collect money from the zoo. We call them zoo, we call Nigeria, because they're an animal kingdom. It's the only country in Africa where you have army doing the police job and army going around adopting and slaughtering people. You have a country where you've been arrested in one city, you are moved to a camp in a different city to go and torture and kill. You only have the army in Africa where they roast human beings like as if they are doing a bride meat. There's only Nigeria where the army cannot fight the borders. They only fight the citizens and make sure that they depopulate. I don't know if some Western world are involved in what is happening in the zoo. But having said that, my question this morning is going to be, can you guys tell our people, why do you refer Nigeria as a giant of Africa, where Nigeria as a country has no law, has no basis of standing? They don't obey their own law. They go into other countries and break their own law also. Just like I remember one of our brother here was saying, how did the Kenyan government allow this to happen? Not only Kenyan government. Ramaphosa is one of the leaders in Africa. He knows what is happening in Nigeria. He went to meet Buhari. He knows that Buhari is dead. But nobody is speaking out. You can see the mess that is going on in Biafra land. In Nigeria as a whole, you can see that Britain created a police force
because of time, Mazi, if you
let me summarize.
Yes, please.
How do you refer Nigeria as a big brother in Africa? There's nothing like Nigeria, guys. There's nothing like Nigeria. There's no Nigeria. We are not Nigeria. Everyone is crying out in that country. Please, don't let us to go through this way. It's a very painful way that we are going through. Molweni once again.
All right.
God bless you.
Thank you very much. I think it was more of a comment here than a question here. All right, guys, I'm trying to begin to summarize because, to be honest with you, the line is going, our people are everywhere. This radio is one of the most listened radio around the world. because it's an indigenous radio. We have over 1 million listening to this radio all over the world. And if all of them start calling here, trust me, we're going to go home. And that's the only radio we have, is Radio Biafra. So I need to also excuse you guys as well to let you go. So I will take 1 or 2 more calls, and then I have a final question. I think about 2 questions which I have to pose to our legal person here, Dr. Sibanda, very, very important. All right, let me do this quickly, and then, of course, because I need to release you, I don't want to take advantage the fact that you guys came through, and then we keep you here forever. Please, we do apologize. It's just that our people need to hear what they are hearing today. That is the thing. All right, we must continue with this Radio Biafra. Let's take this question. Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mazi Kechukwono.
All right, good morning from here. Mazi, quickly, your question, your name, please, where you're calling from, and then your question. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Emmanuel Chibuze Kwato. I am born as Kenya, Uluwago. And Mazi, please allow me to say something before. All right, briefly,
go ahead because of time.
Yes. Let me say wonderful morning to your panel, especially Comrade Stone. I thank both of them. They are amazing. And I want to tell them this, and I want them to think about it. You know, what can make somebody to experience xenophobic attack and yet refuse to go on?
Anybody not following anything that DOS says goes. Anybody not following orders from Chike, Dosium from DOS, you will be removed from IPOB and sanctioned appropriately. You know, before we remove you without knowing where you are, this time around we will catch you before we remove you. Anything DOS says is what goes. Unsurumike is heading our reconciliation committee. If he calls you on the phone, you must listen to him and do as he says. He is our deputy head of Directorate of State, led by Mazi Chike, Dosium. They are the highest decision-making body in IPOB. If that thing is difficult, then now refer it to me. Do you understand? Anything, if they call you on the phone, you don't return their call, or you're doing strong head, I will then believe that the zoo has got you over and you'll be dealt with. We run a disciplined movement more than anything. We value discipline more than anything else in the world, in IPOB. That's the only thing we have. That we are able to defeat the zoo and destroy the zoo is hinged on one thing, and that is discipline. If you know you cannot work for IPOB, you get out and join the Sabo. One day your judgment will come. We'll find out those hiding in Cotonou, those are hiding somewhere near Apite, near Swamp in River State will find all of you. Not water. I say River State because it comprises upland and coastal region. We'll find all of you. No state coordinator is allowed. No state coordinator is allowed to contact the state commander no matter what. And as a commander, if you're removed, you step aside, how others will do the job. We don't want a type of Biafra that will be like the zoo. If you lose election, you rig it, and you remain in power. When the age of retirement is 65, at the age of 85, you're still in power, that rubbish will not obtain. We are not like any other stupid from black people from Africa. We are Biafrans. You must understand that. And follow orders accordingly. My instructions to this global family is this. We have the DOS, we have the finance department, we have the legal department, we have the medical. Anybody who is appointed into office, if you fail to obey your superior officer, you will be dismissed live on air. I will dismiss you myself. And as I said, as I'm dismissing you, men are on the ground to apprehend you. You must obey your superiors. It is based on discipline, please. All this breaking, going forwards and backwards, I want to obey. That means you are not prepared to be in IPOB. If you don't know what obedience is, you shouldn't be here. After all, we are all under oath. It doesn't matter if you were with me from the beginning or not. You must obey your superiors, please. Very, very important. Very, very important. There are also finance officers, those fools that stole our money from Georgia, they think they're very smart, but they will go to jail, and they understand it. If you are a finance officer in the US, please, we need all the funds people are contributing. Stop hoarding it. Stop hoarding it, please. When our US finance officer makes contact with you, you must please be able to oblige her and do as you're told. Or if you get a call, it's when you fail. Anytime you get a call from our sister Nene, then you know you're in very serious trouble, you have done something wrong. Please make sure that our accounting and our audit is up to date. I do not understand the reluctance of some individuals in the US to remit the money that people have contributed to ESN. I don't understand the reason why you're holding it. I don't know what for. Please, that was why we left those criminals with money in Georgia and they stole it. Trying to be clever by half, or should I say too clever by half, like the Fulani will always do. The two criminals living in Atlanta, Georgia, hoarded our money. Nwokenkwo and Ozurumba. Two criminals. 2 rows from there stole our money. I have all the records, and they must understand that. And I have maintained that any account that we have that Nene cannot see, I do not trust that very account. As long as she doesn't see it, I will not trust it. And very, very soon, I will shut down every account that Nene cannot see.
Wonderful welcome. First, I'd like to send my greetings to all the people of Nigeria. I've been treated with unexcelled hospitality and generosity. So I want to express those sentiments to feel welcomed from the United States. Before I arrived in Abuja, I spent some time in Geneva, where there's a working group on arbitrary detention. It's a 5-member group that's a unit of the United Nations Human Rights Council, and it entertains applications on behalf of persons who have been arbitrarily detained under international law. I submitted an urgent action application on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu, identifying all of the elements of arbitrariness in his current detention, including, for example, his denial of access to counsel, which is triggered the moment he is detained. And so you've all heard from Ejiofor that he was denied counsel even when he was first brought into court. But that's not the only denial of detention rights. It seems quite clear, based upon the history of his detention and the struggle for Biafrans through peaceful means to secure a separate sovereignty, that he was singled out because of his ethnicity, his membership in the Biafran community, which is a discrimination prohibited specifically under international law and indeed also under the Nigerian Constitution. If you read the counts in the complaint, now 7, they come at the 11th hour, which is quite irregular. Ordinarily you accuse someone a few days before a trial. They consist of activities that are commonplace for all sorts of Nigerians. And why is Nnamdi Kanu the only one charged with such extravagant crimes as treason, levying war against Nigeria? But in addition to those violations of international law, the fact that he was kidnapped, he was tortured, he was extraordinarily renditioned to Nigeria without any due process of law is also illustrative of the arbitrariness of his detention. And you can think of the irregularity by contemplating the following. At the time that he was delivered from Kenya to Nigeria, he had not even been charged with 4 of the 7 counts that are now laid against him, that were not advanced and articulated until last week. He couldn't possibly have been extradited even before legal means. Under the urgent action process in the working group, the Nigerian foreign minister was immediately notified of the allegations in our complaint. In an ordinary case, there's 60-day response time, but because there's a jeopardy to Nnamdi Kanu's health, including the lack of access to professional medical care, it's on a fast track. If the foreign minister responds, and at present he is not, then I will be permitted an opportunity to answer. But the working group is endowed with authority to make final definitive pronouncements on international law. And the Nigerian government is a signatory to the critical documents, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which bind the government of Nigeria to adherence. And a pronouncement by the working group of arbitrary detention would be a critical weakness in the movement for even a trial for someone who has been illegally captured and delivered. It is a fundamental principle, a universal principle of law, domestic and international, that the government should not be able to profit from its own wrongdoing or criminality. And if you permit governments to kidnap and torture and then try persons illegally, you're then emboldening governments to serve as kind of vigilante justice, running around all the world, capturing any of their dissidents with no due process and bringing them back to trial. After I completed my work in Geneva, then I traveled to Athens. I am working with the foreign ministries of Greece and Israel. I didn't get to Israel because of some glitch in COVID-19, but I hope to travel there after this Abuja visit terminates, to sue the government of Nigeria in the International Court of Justice that sits in The Hague. The International Court of Justice is not like the International Criminal Court. The International Court of Justice only entertains suits between nations. Most recently, in a case very similar to the one concerning Nigeria, the Gambia sued Myanmar in the International Court of Justice for genocide against the Rohingya, and they won early court battles. So the nations bringing suit don't necessarily have to be the ones suffering from the wrongdoing. And the International Court of Justice has a history of trying genocide cases, stemming back to the wars that erupted after Yugoslavia disintegrated, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina. There are 9-year terms for 15 members of the High Court that sits in the International Court of Justice, but we think this is important to have a platform that exposes the daily horrors and atrocities that are inflicted on peaceful civilians in the Southeast. I want to underscore that this issue of the upheavals and strife in Nigeria are not intended to point one group against another. The idea is to make everybody better off. There's not enmity, there shouldn't be enmity between the Fulani, the Biafrans, the Yoruba. We can work towards a process where everybody in the long run benefits. And I think one of the models that can be utilized in terms of peaceful way in which to reorganize the Nigerian dispensation that benefits all is Czechoslovakia. After the Cold War ended, they had the Czechs and Slovaks were all under one umbrella, Czechoslovakia. But they decided they simply had different histories, different ethoses, and they needed to separate peacefully, which they did, separated the assets and the liabilities and whatever. So there's no reason why there has to be violence, even if there is a change in the structure of Nigeria. And I want to conclude by welcoming everyone who's in attendance here and the wonderful legal team that Nnamdi Kanu has put together. I'm proud to be a part of.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, great Biafrans and lovers of freedom. This is Radio Biafra HAUSA-SERVICE coming to you via the auspices of Radio Biafra London. My name remains Mazi Nwachineke from Olu province of Biafra land.